verdict reads as follows. We, the jury, find the defendant, Taylor Denise Schabusiness, guilty of first-degree intentional homicide as charged in count 1 of the information, dated this date, July 26, 2023, signed by the foreperson. The second verdict reads as follows. We, the jury, find the defendant, Taylor Denise Schabusiness, guilty of mutilating a corpse as charged in count 2 of the information, dated this date, July 26, 2023, signed by the foreperson. The next verdict reads, we, the jury, find the defendant, Taylor Denise Schabusiness, guilty of third-degree sexual assault as charged in count 3 of the information, dated this date, 26th day of July, 2023, signed by the foreperson. The verdicts appear to be in order.
Good evening. Thanks for joining us. We begin with that breaking news just into the newsroom from the murder trial of Taylor Schabusiness in Brown County.
After just deliberating about a half an hour, that jury finding Taylor Schabusiness guilty on all 3 counts, as you just heard. As we've reported, Schabusiness entered pleas of not guilty to those 3 felony counts, including first-degree intentional homicide for the death of Shad Therian in February of 2022.
Some of the final evidence presented to the jury today was more than 70 minutes of video this afternoon. Schabusiness telling investigators in great detail she was doing meth and other drugs with Shad Therian just hours before she strangled him to death with a chain. She told police she then cuddled Therian's body before dismembering him with kitchen knives from the home. During the interview, jurors heard Schabusiness tell the detectives she planned to take his body with her so she couldn't get caught. Both the state and the defense giving closing arguments just after 4 o'clock today.
I would argue that it's not a clear case here. Was this an accidental death? Did Taylor Schabusiness kill Shad Therian? Was there intent to kill Shad Therian? Did Taylor Schabusiness have the mental purpose to kill Shad Therian? Different theories, different things for you to think about. You are all like analysts, and you have to assess and decipher the facts. The facts here are very complicated, confusing, unclear.
And we know exactly what she did because the words from her mouth told you with specificity what she did. Can we trust always what Taylor Schabusiness says? No, but as Mr. Saunders told you, we trust but we verify. We didn't stop at taking her statement. We corroborated. She guided the investigation.
Now, there is a second phase of this trial scheduled for tomorrow, which will focus on whether Schabusiness is responsible for the crime or if she was suffering from a mental disease or defect at the time of the killing.